o'clock Eastern, which is the time this meeting was scheduled to begin. Mr. Secretary, can you please call roll? Eastern, which is the.
Absolutely, Madam Chair.
By the way, I'm calling the LNC meeting to order at 8 p.m. Eastern.
All right, I'm going to proceed in alphabetical order of the rep, followed by alternates where applicable. So Adams.
Present.
Vest.
Present.
Bowen. Ford.
Present.
Efke.
Present.
Hagan.
Here.
Hewitt. Sierra.
Present.
Hogarth.
Here.
Dassing. Lucchini. Flores. Longstreth.
Here.
Molman.
Here.
Nana. Hall.
Present.
Nikayla.
Present.
Sexton. Phillips.
Here.
Alex Flores and Chris Lucchini say they cannot unmute, but they are here.
Okay, I will go mark them.
Justin Nana says the same.
Okay. Okay. Beeman.
Buffman, but I'm present.
Buttman. My apologies. Rotsep. Sarwark.
I'm here.
Smith.
Present.
I am here, and Madam Chair.
I'm here.
Okay, give me just a second to tally those up. Okay, there's 3 and 2. Okay, so I have 14 members and 6 alternates present with a total of 16 spots represented, and 3 members and 2 alternates absent with 1 seat not represented here.
Madam Chair, Mr. Bowen and Mr. Hewitt just joined.
All right, let me.
Mr. Wilford, can you make that note?
Absolutely. Mr. Marking them present.
That puts us at.
Okay, the updated total, 16 members and 6 alternates present with 16 seats represented, and 1 member and 2 alternates absent with 1 seat not represented.
All right.
Madam Chair, may I ask which member is absent?
The absent member is Rodsep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so this meeting was called for the purposes of considering a motion to censure Joshua Smith for a specific policy violation. So that will be the only topic of business tonight. I see Mr. Longstreth seeking to be recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To go ahead and get on with our agenda, I think that we should open it up to public comment. How much public comment are we going to have?
Yes, you are correct. I was thinking 15 minutes, 2 minutes per speaker. Thank you for the reminder.
And if I could stay in the queue until we are ready to begin business.
Yes. Okay, we are starting public comment at this time, so that'll be 15 minutes.
Madam Chair, we have a
Mr.
lot,
Smith?
we have a lot of people in the gallery that are probably going to be seeking to be recognized. Can we move to make that 30 minutes at least?
Are you making a motion?
I would like to move to make it 30 minutes. Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion to extend public comment to 30 minutes, and it has been seconded. Any objections to that? Hearing no objection, we will extend public comment to 30 minutes, 2 minutes per speaker.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Hogarth?
in light of Mr. Smith's comments, if we reduce time to 1 minute, that leaves time for 27, 28 people to speak. And so I move that.
All right, we have a motion to limit speaking time to 1 minute per, as opposed to 2 minutes.
Second.
Has been seconded. Any objections? Hearing none, 1 minute per speaker for 30 minutes. And I see Ms. Harlos, this is the first hand I saw. Mr. Harris, when will these individuals be able to unmute themselves, or do I need to call their names and then you unmute them?
No, if I call their names, I can ask them to unmute, at which point they will have to accept unmuting themselves.
I see. Okay. So if I let you know who they are, then you prompt them. Okay.
That is
Ms. Harlos.
All right, thank you. Since I only have a minute, I'll make this fast. I'm just so astounded the LNC's canceling their March meeting because they have nothing to do, and they canceled their monthly meetings. Yet in the middle of the COVID regime, this is what you guys are thinking is the most important thing to do because the whole party is demanding it. And I'd like to know what's going on with my 2 complaints that I asked to be investigated by the executive committee, or at least the chair back in August, that the chair told me would be resolved by November 6th, but haven't yet. That's very interesting how fast you move on Joshua Smith. And what you're censuring him for is the exact same thing you guys did to me, because you violated the same policy manual provision and the very rude email sent by our party chair and the cursing email that Mr. Phillips sent to a volunteer. I'm wondering why those aren't the motion of a censure, and Mr. Longstreth calling me a liar when I proved that I wasn't, when I thought we weren't allowed as LNC members to be criticizing normal members, because that's what you zapped me for. I think this baloney is called hypocrisy. Thank you, esteemed members of the LNC.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. I show Ryan Brown.
Hey, I'll make it quick. I want to know which one of you guys bought stock in the largest rake seller, because you guys are trying to hit every single rake, it seems. It's embarrassing. It's unneeded. And I think you guys are also a little cowardly for not having the chat open. The chat should be open for every meeting. And if you guys can't handle the chat, you can't handle the state. This is embarrassing, and pretty much all of you deserve censure at some point for your actions in the last 6 months. Thank you.
Well, I see no other hands. David Brady.
Hello, hi. I'm a slightly newer member. I've been part of the party for probably a few months now, but from as I've seen from the LNC in my time as part of the party, it seems the LNC is more interested in pursuing political witch hunts against those they disagree with when they raise valid concerns against some of the actions of staffers. I think that the LNC should dismiss the notion of censoring Joshua Smith and should instead choose to reflect upon themselves whether or not they truly care about the cause of liberty, or if they're more interested in maintaining control over a small social club. Well, that is all.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. I see no other members of the gallery seeking to be recognized, though we have allowed 30 minutes for them to do so. I do see that Mr. Rodset may have joined.
I have. I do apologize for my tardiness.
Thank you, Mr. Rodset. Welcome. So that brings us to 17, correct? Mr. Wilson?
Correct. All 17 spots are represented.
Non-LNC member seeking to be recognized for public comment. I see Nolan Pelletier. Non-LNC member seeking to be recognized for public comment. I see Nolan Pelletier.
Hello?
We can hear you, but we're getting some feedback echoing on your end.
Oh, is that better?
Seems to be.
I think this meeting is a waste of time, but I did have a question. Wasn't there another, I believe Josh brought forward another thing for the agenda tonight. Is that not going to be on there?
Electronic meetings are special meetings that can only cover the topics that were listed in the call to the meeting. So no, we have one agenda item, and it was the purpose for which the whole call was scheduled.
Okay. I wish you guys spent more time doing Liberty stuff besides this, but thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Lutz.
Yes, thank you. I'll go ahead and put my, oh, I can't start my video, so everyone can look at my black screen. I'm just going to put this out there to the stalwarts and the old guard. This was on you to stay on principle, to keep this party on principle. And when you sell out principle for the quick and easy solution, you sell out the party to being Republican and Democrat. When you see a problem, you present a better solution. You present a better argument. What I've seen in the past year is the out and out selling of principles for the cheap wins and the quick victories. And it is sad. It is not libertarian. It is not on principle to try and silence ignorant people. You outsmart ignorant people. This party has shown that it cannot outsmart ignorant people. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Springer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This party has let us down many, many, many times, specifically the LNC over the last year, year and a half, almost 2 years. We've got a tyrannical government that is stripping our rights away one by one. Our mission is to fight against liberty, and instead we're stuck here fighting amongst ourselves. Sitting there throwing people off of boards, throwing people out of parties at the state level. This is out of control. We need to get back on the mission of liberty, of fighting back against the government and making all of us free. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in Reno.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Molman?
I apologize. There's a caller, call-in number from an 859 area code who cannot raise his hand because he's dialed in but asked to be heard.
Can you identify the number and the caller?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's Bill Schultz from Kentucky.
Which phone number is it that we should?
Oh, it's 859-391.
That's fine. I just need the first three. Tell me the name again. I'm sorry.
Bill Schultz.
Okay. I'm happy to have Bill go next, actually. I think there is a feature to raise hands on the phone, but I don't know what it is. So if there is another Zoom expert on here. Go ahead, Mr. Schultz. I assume he can.
Yeah, sorry that I'm not on the app. I'm picking up my children. Like Mr. Mullen said, this is Bill Schultz, founding member, charter member of the Libertarian Party of Kenton County in Kentucky. Echoing many of the previous comments, I wanted to express my disappointment that this is the topic of today's meeting instead of so many other more important things that are going on in our country, in our world. I genuinely want libertarian unity and all of the infighting to stop. And I certainly recognize that no one is blameless in this, including Mr. Smith. But taking this next step instead of so many other actions, I don't think is going to help anyone fight the state. So I yield the rest of my time. Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. Carol Moore.
Okay, hi, I'm Carol Moore. I'm, write a lot on Facebook about all this, and I've been a party member since 1979. I fought the right wing under Ron Paul in 1987, the moderates who gutted the platform, and I haven't been too happy with the PC left wingers the last few years. I thought the Mises Caucus might have to show some promise, but it quickly became apparent to me that the leadership, at least, is very right wing, and edgelord and bigots. They're bigots. Okay, so I want to see Joshua Smith censured. I think that's enough. But I want to find out if he's really saying the N word on his podcast all the time, because that's what I've heard. But I don't listen to it. So if he can tell us someday whether or not he does that, that would be real nice. Thank you.
I've never once
Thank
said
you.
the N-word, and you can watch my show anytime you want. It's free.
Next up, Nicholas. I do not show a last name.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you. I've already gone on record sending a letter to the LNC about this, but I can't echo strong enough some of the sentiments that we've heard already. I pledged to become a lifetime member when Carolyn Ann Harlow showed me that the party of principle is more than a tagline, and I have been disappointed in the actions of the leadership since then. So it wouldn't even be a problem to undertake these actions against Carolyn Ann and Josh Smith if they were applied equally to all members of the party when they do some pretty outrageous things. But the fact that you're only targeting the people who you see as your political rivals for these offices in this really pretty small party in the scheme of things, it's just not credible to the membership to pretend that it's about anything related to principles. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Daryl Perry.
Excellent. Finally unmuted. Thank you, Chair Bill Yu and the rest of the LNC. I am unfortunately here tonight listening to this, and I just hope that after the censure of Joshua Smith, something can finally be done about some of the affiliates on social media that are being edgelords. There was a tweet earlier today, unfortunately, from my affiliate here in New Hampshire saying that Black people in America get special access to essential drugs, receive special federal funding due to race, and are first in line for every college and every job. America isn't in debt to Black people. If anything, it's the other way around. That was posted today on Martin Luther King Day. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is not the first time that such idiocy has been tweeted out by LPNH. There are other affiliates tweeting just
Thank you, Mr.
equally
Perry.
ridiculous stuff. I hope that you will take action and disaffiliate all of the affiliates that are posting this.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Time is up. I see no one else from the gallery seeking to be recognized. We have, what, 10 minutes left, Mr. Harris, would you say? Or
I've got 15.
15 left?
Pat Ford has had his hand up this whole time. I don't know if he's
Yes,
gonna be-
indeed. He's an LNC member though, so
Yeah, but he's an alternate.
is this, Mr. Ford, this is something specifically for public comment, or is it more appropriate to be delivered during the meeting?
It's for public comment. I'd like to know, I'm not able to check myself. Have in fact comments been disabled?
They have.
Why?
Mostly because of the behavior of the people in the chat in previous experiences. And if we were,
The people in the chat are members, aren't they, for the most part, I would say?
we have no way,
Correct.
we have no way of knowing that.
Right, but I'm assuming that we've.
So
got
during a
also-
meeting, during a meeting in real life, people would not be allowed to sit in the room and chat while we're conducting a meeting. So I'm not really sure that there's a difference here. People can still be, I mean, they can find other ways to communicate. But they can
chat
also.
on a YouTube video. They can certainly
Okay.
chat on a YouTube video, and I think that's all we're asking here. They're not able to give voice to it, which I understand, in order to keep the meeting intact. But I will always trust the membership to their ability to say what they want. If someone says something that is obscene or means an actual intended injury, not just nasty words or sticks and stones, then I can see possibly muting that individual. But I see no reason whatsoever why the voice of the people can't be evidenced in chat.
During in the Zoom chat, no. On YouTube chat, okay.
What's the difference?
I mean, it's not really your decision either. It's been
Well,
historically
it's-
on. You can't just make that.
Mr.
decision
Smith, you
unilaterally.
don't have the floor. You have not been recognized.
I don't care. You're out of order.
Mr. Ford, Mr. Ford has the floor. Like I said, in a real life meeting, people would not be able to sit here and be disruptive in the chat. They wouldn't be able to sit and talk while we are conducting a meeting. So if they wanted to go do that out in the hallway, for example, that's the equivalent of perhaps doing this on the YouTube chat. So they're welcome to do it there. I
Final
see
point.
no, Mr. Ford.
Final point. First of all, this is not spoken word, it's written. And it's unfortunate that that the feedback I get from Region 8 is that these type of sort of spurious moves are actually work to disenfranchise people and work to raise suspicion. If no one wants to see things that are mean said, then they don't have to watch the chat. It's kind of like a television station. And again, this is written word, just like the written word in YouTube. Final point, I see absolutely no difference, and this will lead to further dissension amongst the members, which I'd like to remind people we are here to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Ryan Brown.
I believe you've already recognized Mr. Brown.
I have, and he's apparently seeking to be recognized
I
again.
apologize.
My
apologies. There is a lag at times in the unmuting, and please don't hold it against the speaker.
No problem. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, I would just like to again comment that it is no different than passing a note in class. It's not visually disruptive. It's not disruptive in any way. The members should be allowed to chat. And if you don't want to see the chat, close your eyes or close the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Harlos. Ms. Harlos.
Okay, it wasn't letting me unmute. My apologies.
I can hear you.
You can hear me now. Okay, thank you. It's very quickly, the LNC gets to make the decisions about the chat. If an LNC member would like chat to be enabled, I would suggest an LNC member make a motion about that because the chair is not the queen.
Thank you, Ms. Harlos. Excellent point. Daniel Lutz.
Yes, thank you. As someone who has given time and money to this party, I think it is laughable that our national chair is making BS excuses to shut down a text chat. You know what? If it disturbs you from watching the meeting, Madam Chair, you can close the chat. You don't have to look at it, but you don't have to silence libertarians from exchanging ideas. That is unlibertarian. That is censorship. That is big government. President Biden, bill you.
So clever, Mr. Lutz. Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to open the chat since I shouldn't have to because no one can unilaterally make that decision. But I make a motion to open the chat. It's no different than our members in the gallery talking to each other quietly while we're having meetings. It happens at every meeting. So I would make a motion to open the
Mr.
chat.
Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also, just so you know, the meetings are run by the chair, by the presiding officer. So it might be helpful for you to brush up on some of that before you comment on the rest of your motion.
Thank you.
Is there a second for Mr. Smith's motion?
I'll second.
Who was that, Mr.
Madam
Nicola?
Chair? Madam Chair, are we still on public comment?
We are actually.
So I would ask whether or not this should wait until we finish public comment and then we can come directly back to Mr. Smith's motion.
I actually have no problem with getting this dispensed with at this point. So it has been seconded. Are there any objections to opening the chat? It would be immediate if we do this.
I object.
All right, we have an objection to opening the chat. Mr. Smith, I believe you've already spoken to your motion. Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, I don't need to speak to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Lucchini, please speak to your objection.
In the past, we've had pornography and other behavior in the chat. As previously noted, if people want to make comments, they're free to do so on the YouTube stream. That is the equivalent of the hallway. And this room is the equivalent of being inside the meeting room. So I believe the chat should take.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this particular matter?
Madam Chair?
Mr. Moman?
Yes. There's been a bit of, if I assume you're calling me to have the floor.
Yes.
Okay. There's been a lot of discussion on this topic. I'm conflicted because I do want our members to be able to communicate with us. At the same time, if we are hosting a platform upon which members are acting in a way that creates legal liability for our party, that's an issue. And I don't know that we have the resources to patrol that. On YouTube, if somebody makes a bad comment or other social media, the hammer of the social media tyrants, and they are tyrannical and awful and overtly so, come down hard on people. So I would ask that if this motion passes, that our members please be respectful of the chat because that's why it's been turned off. I know there's been discussions on that the liability is the issue. Please be respectful, because at the end of the day, as much as we want people to communicate, we also have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the party. So thank you. That's all.
Mr. Molman, any other LNC members wishing to speak on this matter? Mr. Michaela?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that I know in the past we have had some meetings where chat's been open. We've had some meetings where chat's been closed. I know for me personally, during COVID, my city council had Zoom meetings. We did have the chat open. I don't think there's any legal liability on our part as long as people can't pop in. Video feed wise, I think the chat is okay if people want to utilize it. And as long as people can conduct themselves somewhat like adults, then fantastic. And if we don't like the chat, just let's not pay it any mind, close it, and just ignore it if that's the case, and let people communicate. And I think it's fine. I think it's their right.
I see Mr. Dassing. You wishing to speak on this?
Yes. I would think that the chat in this Zoom call is more private than the chat that's on YouTube, and that's what the public sees more. So if you're worried about inappropriate things being said, I'd be more concerned about what's going on in YouTube than in this meeting. And I think that's more of the public. It's detrimental for the public to see if you're anything worried. But I don't remember any such pornography or anything like what Steven just said. There's going to be no video share, and as long as they don't pop up in that, we can easily, like, I can't see the chat right now because I don't have it up. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Wilford, you had your hand up earlier, but it's gone now. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna move to call the question, but I think at this point it's moot.
Okay. I see no further people seeking to be recognized on this. Is there any objection to moving to a vote? All right, hearing no objection. I think LNC members can use in the reactions, you can use the check and X's.
Madam Chair, I would request a roll call, please.
Yes, indeed. That actually can happen through the process that I was about to describe. If that is satisfactory, because we would be able to see next to each of their names how they're voting.
Withdrawn.
Does that make sense?
That's fine.
Okay.
Withdrawn, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. So at this time, LNC members who are eligible to vote at this time, there's a green check or a red X. You may cast your vote. And
Can you
Mr.
explain which
Secretary,
vote is which?
Yes. So the motion is to open the chat, and that would be in Zoom and obviously YouTube as well, I suppose. So a green check would mean yes, you want to open the chat, and a red X would be no. And Mr. Secretary, are you able to see all of those and track them?
Madam Chair, point of inquiry.
Ms. Adams?
Am I to understand that this vote makes the decision for this Zoom chat as well as the YouTube chat?
It's definitely making the decision for the Zoom chat, because that's the only one that we started this meeting with closed, as far as I know.
Well, I just wanted to clarify, because you just said it wouldn't close it or open it for this and YouTube. I want to make sure that the YouTube chat is going to stay open regardless of any vote that we have here.
My understanding was that YouTube chat was already open.
Okay.
So this now makes Zoom and that one open. Does that make sense?
So I think I am able to do it this way.
Okay.
Just have to make sure things are moving around up and down, so it may be a little bit difficult at first.
Yes, so this is kind of an experiment voting this way, because as people mark, it does kind of shift the order around, so.
Madam Chair, this is Mr. Phillips. I'm going to abstain on this vote, and there is no method for saying that.
Thank you.
I'm going to actually request with things moving around that we just do a traditional call down the run.
No problem. Yeah, I see now that it's too dynamic for you to be able to keep up with. So yes, thank you. Thank you for indulging me in trying that, what I thought would be efficient.
Not a problem. So, Adams,
No.
Bowen,
Yes.
Evke,
No.
Hagan,
Yes.
Hewitt,
Yes.
Hogarth,
Yes.
Lucchini,
No.
Longstreth,
Yes.
Molman,
Yes.
Nana,
Yes.
Michaela,
Aye.
Phillips,
Abstain.
Rodsep,
Yes.
Sarwark,
No.
Smith.
Yes.
I am going to abstain, and Madam Chair.
I do not need to vote. There's no tie here. It passes without me voting, correct?
It does pass. I can give you numbers if you want me to count.
I think I have them, but it's fine.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Mr. Molman,
I just wanted to note to my fellow LNC members that if we are alerted that the chat gets out of hand, I will switch my vote if it comes back up.
thank you. And Mr. Harris or whoever was keeping time, can you tell me how many more minutes we have left in public comment?
I have 9 minutes and 45 seconds left when we start.
All right.
that section.
Thank you. So it looks like some people are in to speak a second time. I'm going to go ahead and recognize those who have not spoken yet as we continue with public comment. So Justin Carmen.
It has become apparent that this is nothing more than a political charade yet again. Against part of the board's political opposition, nonetheless, particularly those who highlight the misdeeds. Given the infringements on freedom that have gone on a daily basis, I suggest the LNC actually start doing their job and fight the state, instead of those who are their ideological opposition. No longer is there any reading between the lines. It's plainly obvious what this dysfunctional board thinks about liberty and about its membership.
Thank you, Mr. Carmen. Just to clarify, the motion to open the chat did pass, even though the vote, I had 10-4-2. Just to confirm, Mr. Wilford, and the chat should be open.
Yeah, I can confirm those numbers. Yes, 10-4. I got 10-4-3. I marked you as abstaining.
You counted mine. Okay, that's fine. All right, Derek Rethman.
All righty. I would like to just say that in the midst of just a bunch of important stuff happening, we take the time to do this, just censoring someone over the prospect of just questioning whether someone is actually doing their job right and whether we should continue their presence on the team. This is ridiculous and just cowardly to immediately recoil in such a fashion that we want to censure someone for this. It's a bit ridiculous, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rethman. Pietro Garacci. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Please correct me if not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There we go. You cannot start your video. Okay, well, thank you for this opportunity to speak. I just wanted to comment that I think that having this meeting for the purpose of discussing a censor of anybody is a huge waste of time and does nothing except stir up drama and really distract from getting things done. I don't think this does anything. Nothing's going to change regardless of how this motion goes. If you think that the member in question's conduct is to the point where he should be removed, it's egregious enough, then remove him. And if it's not at that threshold, then perhaps take him aside and talk privately. But to do this whole big spectacle really makes no sense. There are too many other pressing matters that the LNC should be focusing on. This is why I'm running for Libertarian National Committee, because I want to end the drama and grow the party.
Thank you. I see no other members of the public seeking to be recognized. Mr. Molman, are you in line for later or,
I put my hand down. I'm sorry. It was an artifact.
Okay. Mr. Ruthman, are you back or is this left over from earlier?
I just wanted to say that just a correction from things earlier of what was said here. I believe that the comments on the YouTube are disabled. The chat's on. Don't know if that stays after the video, but comments under the YouTube definitely are off if that is any concern.
Thank you for the information. David Brady.
Ms. Chair, I would just like to say that viewing the LNC's actions as of late, they are more inspired by, again, a political witch hunt against those that are against their status quo and are frankly disgraceful. If you want to lead a party in which your goal is to advance liberty in the United States of America, then you are doing a frankly terrible job of doing so, choosing to attack Joshua Smith for absolutely no reason, no reasonable reason, that is to say, and rather than actually challenging the current regime that is threatening the lives and livelihoods of many, many Americans. The LNC could be better focusing its time on messaging and letting people know that there are alternative options than the duopoly, but you have instead chosen to pursue this censure and waste our time. I would suggest that if you are more interested in this than actually advancing human liberty, then you are unfit for your role and should resign as chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Benner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say if this body put forth half the effort it does to censure Joshua Smith and remove Karen Ann Harlos as it did to censure the COVID regime, we'd be making much more headway against the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benner. Anyone else from the gallery wishing to be recognized? How much time is remaining on this?
3 minutes and 20 seconds.
Mr. Smith?
Are we done with public comment?
It appears that way.
Okay, so can I be recognized for other things now? Okay.
Is there any objection to discontinuing public comment at this time with approximately 2 minutes left and no one else in the queue? All right, thank you to members of the gallery. And Mr. Longstreth was in the queue from the get-go before, and he was the one that brought to our attention that we needed to do public comment. So Mr. Longstreth is up first, and then Mr. Smith, you're on deck.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I propose the following resolution that was sent out to the entire LNC body on behalf of the EPCC, which was passed unanimously. I'll read it now, and if it receives a second, I'll state arguments. It states, whereas in July 2020, at-large Representative Joshua Smith received the privilege and honor of being reelected to represent the National Libertarian Party as an at-large representative to the Libertarian National Committee. And whereas all staff and representatives elected to the Libertarian National Committee are expected to adhere to the rules governing the LNC as outlined in the Libertarian National Committee Policy Manual. And whereas the LNC Policy Manual at 2.01.6.11 outlines the procedure for handling concerns regarding staff in a professional way and was approved by the currently sitting LNC in June 2021 unanimously. And whereas Joshua Smith wrote an email to the LNC business list on 12/24/2021 in which he publicly expressed concerns regarding a staff member and demanded their termination publicly prior to bringing the matter before the EPCC, Executive Committee, or the Chair and Vice Chair. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Joshua Smith is hereby censured for violating the Libertarian National Committee Policy Manual at 2.01.6.11 by publicly demanding a staff member be terminated via email.
Second.
We have a motion as was read and is currently appearing on the screen. It was seconded. Are there any objections to this motion?
I object.
You hear an objection. Was that Mr. Smith?
Correct.
All right, we have objection, therefore we are going into debate. Mr. Longstreth, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight we are hearing a proposal for the censure of Joshua Smith as passed unanimously by the EPCC. It was then considered by the Executive Committee under our policy manual to investigate board members. The Executive Committee unanimously agreed, apart from Mr. Phillips, who was not present, that the issue was pressing enough that a meeting of the LNC should be scheduled to hear that motion publicly, and that's where we are today. The motion is in response to the action Mr. Smith took on December 24th, in which he openly criticized staff and called for retaliatory termination of a specific staff member without following the policies and procedures for addressing concerns regarding staff. This evening, I will outline for you all exactly what has brought us to this specific point and why censure as a minimum is what must be done for the good of our staff and, more importantly, the well-being of our party. I will review a brief history that led us here, what happened on December 24th through now, and the future and what the future holds if we fail to act. At the beginning of the LNC term, this body formed the Employment Policy and Compensation Committee with myself as chair, Aaron Adams, and Stephen Nikela. Our varied backgrounds in all levels of management across different industries helped us come together and do our best to ensure the right people were hired, staff benefits could be expanded, and staff concerns were heard and responded to in a professional manner. Our unofficial goal is to leave our staff in a better place professionally than when we took our role on that committee. The EPCC began working in earnest, bringing on a new director and assisting in the search for several staffers, focusing on specific job descriptions for each role and filling out our organizational chart with the best people. In doing this, we became aware of concerns from staff regarding interactions with board members. The EPCC identified that there was no clear policy on email communications, and we felt that if guidelines could be established and a way to address grievances between the board and staff, that would help calm those concerns. The EPCC proposed at the in-person meeting of the LNC in June that our electronic communications policy be added to our policy manual following the LNC's policy on harassment. The proposal was passed unanimously by all board members at that time, including Mr. Smith, and has not changed since. Unfortunately, behavior did not improve as expected. Excuse me. And concerns from our executive director were then shared with the EPCC as a reaction. Ultimately, it was decided that a nearly identical memorandum with Chair Billio's approval would be shared with LNC members and with staff to help clarify the board-staff relationship. That memo was issued in August and helped clarify workflow for staff and crystallize how we, as elected leaders, ought to communicate and interact with staff. The memo specifically states, quote, members of staff should neither seek nor receive instructions, permission, or approval for job-related activities directly from members of the LNC, end quote. This makes it clear that our role with staff members should be limited. The memo, combined with the previously mentioned policy manual change, made clear the proper and professional behavior that this body prefers we have with staff. In each policy regarding staff, an LNC member is given a path to address any grievances they have. They may take concerns to the EPCC under 2.01.6.11 or to the chair or vice chair under 2.01.5. I argue that a complaint could also be taken to the executive committee as a whole because they do handle the business of the party between LNC meetings in urgent scenarios, and staff concerns may be considered an urgent scenario. On December 24th, Mr. Smith emailed the public list criticizing a staff member and demanding their immediate termination. Members of this body quickly jumped into action and had the personal identification information removed from the public list, citing professionalism and our established processes for such concerns. Mr. Smith conceded he erred in publicly naming the person. This may have been the end, but that same day and continuing into even this last weekend, Mr. Smith continues to publicly ridicule this staffer, making statements such as, quote, oh, they are getting fired, LOL, end quote. No complaint regarding the staffer has yet to be submitted to the EPCC by Mr. Smith. The EPCC did, however, receive 2 separate complaints from staff regarding Mr. Smith's actions. Due to confidentiality, I will generalize some of the concerns shared with EPCC. 1, actions like the one Mr. Smith took create a hostile work environment. 2, our processes were clearly broken and action must be taken if those policies are to mean anything. 3, if we do not respond appropriately, we are suggesting that the action taken by Mr. Smith was somehow an acceptable way to deal with staff concerns. The EPCC responded to those concerns brought to us by coming up with a response boiled down to just the clear facts in this situation. Our policies were broken and it is not okay. And so a unanimous motion from the EPCC to recommend censure was passed to the executive committee for further consideration. We have a fiduciary duty to care for the party in between conventions as LNC members. Part of that duty involves fostering a place of professional growth within the Liberty movement. I urge you all to consider the motion to censure very carefully. Is the National Libertarian Party a professional organization focused on winning elections and becoming a well-oiled headquarters capable of supporting candidates and elections? Or are we a social club where it is okay for a boss to publicly criticize and then launch a campaign to terminate an employee? How would you feel if this was your boss? I hope the unanimous answer at a bare minimum this evening is that the behavior of Mr. Smith broke our policies and was not representative of the professional standards of this party. Thank you, and please vote in favor of censure.
Mr. Smith,
Yeah, due
would
to
you like to
some,
speak to your objection?
yeah, I'm actually, so some of this is factually incorrect. I didn't demand anything. I made a legal motion on the business list that had to get seconded and needed the correct amount of votes to pass. I demanded nothing. I wrote out a thoughtful motion. And due to this not being factually correct, I am going to move to table this indefinitely. So thank you.
Hearing no second, your motion fails or dies for lack of second. Mr. Lucchini.
Yeah, at this time, due to the nature of the legal issues with respect to employment law and that this involves staff, I would like to move that we move into executive session.
Second.
Object.
All right, we have a motion to move into executive session to discuss matters related to this motion as they may apply to legal matters and personnel matters. I heard employment and law. It was seconded and we have an objection. Mr. Lucchini, do you need to speak further to your reasoning?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Smith, would you like to speak to your objection to moving into executive session? Was that you who objected?
Yep. Yeah, I objected. We move into executive session to talk about staff salaries and the likes. I don't think that there's any need to bring up names of staff members other than what's already been explained in this meeting. There's no reason for us to go into executive session other than to have a secret, meeting that it doesn't accomplish anything. We can't make any votes in there. The censure has already been, the motion has already been made. That cannot take place inside of executive session per our bylaws for Roner. So it just would make no sense whatsoever for us to go into executive session right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I see Mr. Phillips seeking to be recognized. Is it related to the executive session motion?
No, I'm sorry. I meant to lower my hand and I missed it.
Okay. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized regarding executive session?
Madam Chair,
Who is that?
this is Ken Molman, and
Oh,
also
I can't see the
Miss-
full screen, so.
I was gonna say, and Miss Adams has her hand up too.
Okay, yeah, some people are missing off my screen because of the screen sharing. So, all right, there we go. Thank you. Between Ms. Adams and Mr. Molman, which one was first? I'll leave it to you two to.
I think Miss Adams was first.
Okay. Ms. Adams, you have the floor.
Yeah, I do see potential legal discussion that would need to be had around this. It's difficult to speak to without violating terms of executive session, but I do think there are some potential legal concerns that we should discuss as a board before moving forward with this motion. That's all.
Mr. Molman?
I just wanted to know if the mover intends to go immediately into the legal items that would entitle us to go to executive session. I think it is important that we are as transparent as we can be. So if we go into executive session, that if we limit that discussion specifically to the legal items and exit quickly from it, and perhaps consider if there's anything that's not from the legal perspective first, since we have people watching and listening, anything that could be addressed first be handled before going into executive session. Thank you.
Mr. Lucchini, is your hand still left up from earlier?
I'm sorry, I'll lower it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Phillips? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ford. Mr. Ford. I apologize.
Yes, I'd like to know if the specific allegations Mr. Smith made allegedly in his statement are going to be considered part of the executive session. My fear is that in an environment like this, and I understand the employment issue consequences of it, is that this is being much used like a lawyer would use a grand jury. You get it put in grand jury and then we can never talk about it again publicly. And that's been my persistent issue with the LNC for the terms that I filled in the last few times. We sweep everything under the carpet. I think we have to be very clear up front before we vote to go into executive session, what type of issues are for executive session and what type of issues will be allowed to be aired publicly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Mr. Phillips.
Two things. First, I think I see a lot of chat in the commentary. There are very important legal reasons to go into executive session. Sorry, folks, if you don't agree, but there are. Brush up on your employment law, maybe. But second, the mover of the motion did not specify whether this would include Mr. Harris or not, and typically we do that. So I just like that clarification.
If I'm allowed to expand on that, I believe that Mr. Harris should be involved specifically because I've mentioned both legal and staff issues.
Okay, is there anyone else seeking to be recognized? Any LNC members seeking to be recognized on this? On the matter of going into executive session specifically? Mr. Hagan and then Mr. Nikela.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that if this motion does pass, that you give clear instructions to the guests on how they would, what they should do next and how they would know when we arise out of executive session. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hagan. Mr. Nikela.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. I do think executive session is appropriate this time so we can go in and speak more openly about potential staff and legal issues.
Anyone else? All right, I see no one else seeking to be recognized on the matter of moving into executive session. We'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of Mr. Wilford, how do you propose we do this again?
If we're just taking a counted vote, we can use the check marks, but if we want an actual roll call vote, I think we should go by name.
Okay, we could even do just hands, or no, yeah, I guess the yeses, the checks and the X's, right? Is what you said? If we're just.
Yes, I would say the
counting.
hands would
Okay.
get, confusing.
Okay, all right, so at this time, if you are in favor of moving into executive session to discuss the matters related to legal and confidential staff matters in executive session, click the green check mark that is in your reactions. If you are opposed to going into executive session, where then those items wouldn't be discussed, click the red X.
As a point of personal privilege, Madam Chair.
Mr. Longstreth.
Yes, if the motion does fail, does that mean that those sensitive topics would be able to be discussed openly? And is that advisable from a legal perspective? I'm just trying to understand what the effects of this are if this fails, because I don't want to limit anybody's ability to say what they want to say on this matter.
Well, if we are not in executive session, I don't know how to answer that question. It's impossible to stop someone from saying something before they say it in an open session. So people may have to consider that before they speak if we are not in executive session.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Wilford?
Yes, I'm going to have to ask that we instead just do a roll call vote because I've just realized that it is possible for non-LNC members to react. And I see at least one who is.
Yes, because people, as we've already proven, don't behave themselves. All right, so you're just going to do roll call?
Yes. And it has been requested of me, quite rightfully, that I alternate order. So I'll be going in reverse alphabetical order for this one. I will start with myself, and I am voting yes. Smith.
Again, a yes vote means yes, you're agreeing to go into executive session. A no vote, no executive session, just to clarify.
Sorry, I'm just getting home from the airport from the Georgia convention. I vote no.
Sarwark.
Yes.
Rodsep.
Yes.
Phillips. I'm hearing nothing.
No.
No. Nikayla.
Aye.
Yes. Nana.
No.
Molman.
I'm going to vote yes.
Longstreth.
Yeah. No.
No. Lucchini.
Yes.
Yes. Hogarth.
Yes.
Yes. Hewitt.
Yes.
Yes. Hagan.
Yes.
Yes. Epke.
Yes.
Yes. Bowen.
No.
No. Adams.
Yes.
Yes. And Madam Chair.
What's the count?
It's going to pass either way.
Okay, then I won't vote.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 opposed, and 1 abstaining.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Ferreira?
I can send out a separate Zoom for all of us to join and then we can come back to this when we're done. Would that work for you?
So
We have a breakout room.
We could do a breakout. room.
Mr. Harris, I think the other night when we did a call, people left and then came back and were just in a waiting room until we came back into session. I don't know if that's the best option, but it was what wound up happening. If someone has a suggestion for something else, I am all ears.
Madam Chair, I believe that we can create a breakout room and limit that to, yeah, we can manually assign people to that room, it looks like.
That would mean that staff has to go one by one and put all those people there as opposed to just letting them come back in and go into the waiting room.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was speaking of putting the LNC into the breakout room.
Oh, I see. I see.
Just as an option rather than everybody getting bounced out and having to come back in.
Mhm. And who would be doing that? Mr. Harris as the host of the meeting?
I could do that. I believe any of the co-hosts could do it. Ken.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure that only one person is creating only one room.
Mr. Moman, would you like to do the honors?
All right, I will create a breakout room. Let's see how this goes.
Thank you. And that room will be, secure in the sense that nobody else can come in it and we can still, like, it won't be recorded or anything. It'll just be
I believe so, and that's what I want to double check.
Okay.
To be honest, I have not done this, so we will see. All right.
I will monitor the live stream so that once we are in the breakout room, I will make sure that it is not streaming from executive
Thank
session.
you.
I just have to find all of us.
Is this being emailed to us? I'm sorry, I didn't catch the method of the link being sent.
I don't know yet.
I'm trying to push the entire LNC into the room. Give me just a moment.
Dustin, what's going to happen is on your screen here in Zoom, it's going to say you've been invited to a breakout room and you need to accept that invitation from Ken.
Okay, cool. Cool. That's a new method of doing it, but it might be more effective. Thank you for letting me know.
Ms. Bilyeu, are we bringing any of the LNC staff in with us?
I believe Mr. Longstress did say that Mr. Harris would be invited.
Okay. Let's see here. I don't see him. He may have to add himself. That might be because he started the room. I may not have permission to push him in. All right. Let's see what happens. All right, we're going to try this.
Madam Chair, point of personal privilege.
Ms. Adams?
I just want to remind some of our alternates and newer members that alternates are indeed members of this LNC and should be looking for their invitation as well.
Oof. It is angry. I can't hear anybody. I don't know if they can hear me. Oh, my computer is super sad. There it goes. Are we on the other side now? Where are we at?
Can I still show you in the main room? You need to open up the breakup rooms and hit join on LNC.
Got it.
Otto and Pat, I still show you in the main room. Josh Smith, I still show you in the main room. Tim Hagan.
Forgive me, what am I supposed to do here?
There should be a link to breakout rooms on your screen. And if you click that and join the LNC breakout room.
Oh, I see.
I don't, point of personal privilege, I don't see my name mentioned anywhere.
Uh-oh. Yep, I may have missed you.
Okay, thank you.
This may not have worked. Let's see here.
Huffman, you're the last one. Besides, oh no, and Hagan.
Oh, thank you.
So I have a box that says breakout rooms in progress. With
He looks like Ken hadn't invited you yet, so I think he's.
I'm sorry. Trying.
It looks like Ken didn't invite himself. I'm going to invite him.
Did you get Mr. Harris as well? Did you get the rest of us, TJ?
I got Hagan,
Hey, TJ, mine says, please wait to be assigned.
Oh, yep, I missed Miss Sarwark too. I'm so sorry.
You're going to pay.
Sorry.
That's terrible.
It's hard. There's a lot of people on the list.
There's a lot of people. Thank you, Ken.
Ken, you still may need to add me, sorry.
Richard or Rich, I just added you. Valerie, I added you.
I see it, TJ, thank you.
No problem.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to let you know that the LNC has decided to rise from executive session, and people should be making their way back over to this main room very shortly.
Yeah, I believe the chair said 10:24.
There you go.
So we're in a 5-minute break.
I
Yes.
assume so. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
We are making our way back into the main session for those watching, but the LNC members are taking a 5-minute break. So there's about 4 minutes of that remaining. All right, we are back in regular session. Mr. Wilford, when you get a chance, can you please call roll again?
Yes, give me 1 second and I'll get my little table copied. Okay, same order as last time. Adams,
Present.
Vest,
Present.
Bowen,
Here.
Ford,
Here.
Epke,
Here.
Hagan.
Here, and do we also need to restart the recording?
Oh, yes, thank you. Where'd button go? All right, cool. I am recording as well. So just to recap real quick for the recording, Adams, Vest, Bowen, Ford, Epke, and Hagan are all present. Hewitt. Vieira.
Present.
Hogarth.
Here.
Dessing.
Here.
Lucchini. Flores. Longstreth.
Here.
Mulman.
Here.
Nana.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Michaela.
Present.
Sexton. Phillips.
Here.
Oh boy.
Buffman.
Huh? Buffman?
Buffman.
Buffman, like an
Present.
F. Okay, Buffman.
Present.
Thank you. Rodsep.
Here.
Sarwark.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
I am here. And yep. So let me do a quick count. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's up to 16, and then 3, 2, 1. Okay, there are 15 members and 6 alternates present, with 16 of the seats filled. And there are 3 members and 2 alternates absent, with 1 of the seats not represented.
So we have 17 voting.
We have 16 voting.
Because
Lucchini Flores did not answer.
Lucchini and Flores both did not answer. Okay. All right. Mr. Smith.
Can you put me at the back of the queue? Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Phillips.
To be perfectly honest, I feel like any further discussion of this matter will just embarrass ourselves and our party, and I call the question.
Object.
All right, the question has been called. There is objection to calling the question.
I haven't been given an opportunity to speak to my own censure, so.
That's fair, and I would withdraw. I did not think of that. My apologies, Mr. Smith.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Vest, I had you on the list from earlier, but I see your hand is not up now.
No.
Okay. Mr. Molman.
Yes. So coming out of the executive session, I am in a position where now that we're out, we can talk about the policy manual in the terms should versus shall, that Roberts does have a differentiation between those two words, that Mr. Smith is a member of the board and has the right to make a motion that the EPCC is subordinate to the LNC. It is a creation thereof, and that a higher level board always has the right to take action. His motion was not out of order. The National Committee does have the right under the bylaws to direct the chair to do things, which that motion effectively would have been. And the motion died for a lack of enough seconds anyway. So barring additional information, specifics around legal items that we discussed in executive session, I will be voting no unless this is moved to be tabled to another time, at which time the legal questions unanswered are answered. And that is where I stand. Thank you.
Mr. Nikela?
Thank you, everyone. I just want to say it was productive executive session, I think, because it definitely opened my eyes to one fact. One of the items that the EPCC did ask for has, I don't believe, been satisfied to my complete satisfaction. So I'll be using my fiduciary duty on the EPCC to make a motion to the list in that regard. And I think that that will be the most appropriate action moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, so first off, I want to start off with saying that I think this whole meeting is a sham. You guys know that already. I've been very clear about it. You guys violated, many of you, maybe all of you, violated the same exact section of the policy manual when you brought up the issues with Karen Ann Harlos to the public list. And now you're using that as a political tool to beat me over the head with a censure, which is essentially a slap on the wrist, without getting any of the information that you needed to make sure that what you were doing was correct or legal. This is a toothless motion that means absolutely nothing to me. I want to let you guys know that everybody who supported this motion, worked on this motion, brought this motion to boards and committees is a coward, and you're on 4.5 months notice. We will see you in Reno. Thank you.
Mr. Molman, your hand is still up, or is it up again?
That's an artifact, sorry.
All right. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized on this motion?
I am, Susan.
Ms. Hogarth?
I'd just like to point out that Mr. Molman brought this up, so I thought I would reiterate there is no legal issue with a motion of censure. The way he stated what he said made it sound like he had concerns that there was legal issues around a motion of censure. The question is not whether we should do anything. There is no question of legality with a motion of censure. The questions of legality were all around employment issues.
Thank you, Ms. Hogarth. Seeing no further discussion on this matter, there is a motion on the floor. It was seconded. Mr. Molman?
I'm sorry, I was just giving a thumbs up reaction to Ms. Hogarth.
Thank you. It seems to me that we now are going to proceed to a vote on the motion.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Ferreira?
Can you find out if Hewitt's back so I know if I'm voting on this or not?
Mr. Hewitt, are you present?
He turned his camera on, but not his mic.
I am not.
There he is.
I think.
I believe Mr. Smith asked to be put at the end of the queue, so he should still be in the queue.
Mr. Smith just spoke.
Oh, my apologies.
All right. Any objections to proceeding to a vote on this motion? Seeing nobody else seeking to be recognized to discuss it. All right. Mr. Wilford.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I was struggling to unmute.
Yes, Ms. Adams.
Um, I would move to table this motion.
Seconded.
Second.
Real quick, as a point of, never mind, you said table, not postpone. My apologies.
And Mr. Wilford, can you do me a favor and tell me the effect of that?
So a motion to table takes this immediately away from the body. There is no definite time to which it comes back, but at any time, someone can move to take it from the table.
Okay. And it's a majority vote?
It is a
Table?
majority vote, and I don't believe it's debatable, but I have Rona right here if you want me to check it.
Yeah, that's what I was looking forward to.
Madam Chair, point of information quickly while he looks that up.
Mr. Phillips?
I need to let Mr. Buffman take my seat at the table. I am entirely too ill to continue this meeting. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Please get well soon. Mr. Buffman, are you here?
I sure am.
Okay, thank you.
Point of information.
Mr. Lucchini?
So if this motion is tabled and then this meeting is adjourned, what is the status of the motion?
May I give a crack?
Please do, Mr. Wilford.
So at the time that this is tabled and then then our meeting is adjourned, it can be brought up at a later meeting or on the email list at any time. I was actually going to suggest that it might be an easier motion to just move to adjourn. It would have the same effect.
Point of order, tabling is not the correct motion here. It's a postponing motion. And it would be postponed indefinitely.
I actually believe Mr. Smith is correct on this. I believe I made the wrong motion, and it should be a motion to postpone.
Would it be postponed indefinitely or postponed to a time certain?
Could be either, right?
I think it's just indefinitely. I don't think it's a time
Yes,
certain.
you can do either, so we need to know which one.
Indefinitely.
Okay, second if it's needed again.
Okay, so postpone indefinitely.
Wait, point of parliamentary inquiry. I'm unclear on other than setting a time certain on the effectual difference between time certain and indefinitely. I don't intend to kill this motion. I intend to postpone this motion until some members can have certain questions answered.
May I take a crack at that, Madam Chair?
Mr. Wilford?
Yeah, so if you do it to a time definitely, it will automatically come up at that time. If you postpone indefinitely, it does not stop us from bringing it up on the email list or at a future meeting, but it will not automatically come up. Someone will have to make that motion.
Point of order.
I just wanted to double check.
Hold on, please. Mr. Richard Brown is in the meeting. Can we get him unmuted?
I can clear up my point of order too. You can postpone to a time specific or postpone to after a certain event, which in this case would be seeking whatever answers need to be sought. So,
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. You've been discussing three different motions. In Robert's rules, there is no motion to table. There is a motion to lay on the table, but that's designed to set something aside temporarily during a meeting to take up something else more pressing and then pick it back up before the end of the meeting. That's what it's designed for. As far as the motion to postpone definitely would be to postpone it until the next meeting or until a special meeting. You cannot postpone it beyond the next meeting, and it would have to be a meeting that occurs within a quarterly time interval. The motion to postpone indefinitely has the effect of killing the motion. That kills it. label postpone indefinitely, but it has the effect of killing it. If I can answer any other questions, I'll be happy to.
So then I would like to restate my motion. I'd like to postpone this motion until such a time as the concerns addressed in executive session are addressed.
Mr. Brown, since she's setting conditions for when this can be taken back up, but not setting a time certain for it to be taken back up. Is that an option?
Yes, you can do that. Yes,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay, so to clarify, Ms. Adams is moving to postpone consideration of this motion until such time as we have more information to decide on it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, but that, Madam Chair, it really needs to be
Fine, I move to postpone this motion for 30 days.
That would be permissible.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Adams.
Point of information.
I'd like to.
Mr. Molman?
Will we be able to take that up earlier than 30 days? If we so choose?
I think so.
Mr. Brown? Did you hear that question? If she says for 30 days, can it be taken up before then?
I'm honestly not. At a minimum, I think it would require suspending the rules. I don't really think it could be taken up before then.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Mr. Ferreira?
I believe we could postpone this to the next meeting, and if we're not ready to discuss it at the meeting, we can postpone it again. The furthest we can postpone something is always to the next meeting, but that doesn't stop us from postponing it multiple times.
That's correct. You can postpone it from meeting after meeting.
Point of information, when is our next regularly scheduled meeting?
At the convention.
That's what I thought.
I would like to propose an amendment to the motion.
Oh, hold on, please. Ms. Adams, your motion, so the first motion that you made, which was to table, is going to be ruled out of order. So we are back to no current motion other than the one that you have just made, which has not actually been seconded because we're still trying to clarify it. Hold on, guys. It hasn't been seconded because it wasn't clear. So we're
I
still
move
in
to
a,
postpone consideration of this motion for 30 days.
so you intend at the 30-day mark, no matter what, to take this motion up?
Yes, that we hold another special meeting and take this motion up.
So 30 days from now, everybody needs to be clear on what we're considering. 30 days from now puts us at
Wednesday, February the 16th.
My math lines up with that.
At 7 p.m. Central Time, if that helps.
So I understand your motion to be to postpone this item to be taken up on Wednesday, February 16th at, did you say 8 Eastern?
7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern.
In an online meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Secretary, did you get that?
I have Adams moves to postpone for 30 days until February 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to postpone this item to February 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern to an online meeting. It has been seconded. Are there any objections to that motion?
Objection.
I hear an objection. Ms. Adams, would you like to speak to your motion?
Certainly, I feel there are many members of this board that are seeking more information and additional guidance that they don't have at this time, and I would like to give them the opportunity to have that information.
Okay, Mr. Buffin, would you like to speak to your objection?
I guess I'm on a differing viewpoint on that, and I would just like to see us resolve this as soon as possible.
Thank you. I see 3 people seeking to be recognized. I assume it is all for this, the current motion, which is to postpone. Mr. Smith,
I call the question.
Second.
Second.
any objections to calling the question?
I object.
All right. Mr. Smith, do you feel you need to speak to why you are calling the question?
No, I absolutely do not.
Mr. Lucchini, would you like to speak to your objection?
I believe that postpone it may be reasonable. However, I think 30 days is way too long. I was going to offer a motion to amend for 7 days, because if that's more enough time to consult with attorneys.
Okay. Anyone else seeking to be recognized on calling the question?
Calling the question is not a debatable motion for Roner. Sorry.
So we will proceed to a vote.
I have a question, please. I raised my hand.
Mr. Ford?
Just in response to Mr. Lucchini's objection, 7 days is not long enough, as I feel I will need to see counsel after listening to counsel and having questions answered by that we are talking about. I hope that's bland enough, but I think you get the point. Do you get the point? If I'm not explaining myself well.
None of this matters because it's out of order. There is no debate around calling the question. Thanks.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor, Mr. Wilford, how do you want to do this? We need to see vote on calling the question.
Yeah, I'll just do it via a roll call vote, and I'll go in reverse
Okay.
order. So I'll start with myself, and on calling the question, I will vote yes. Smith,
Yes.
Sarwark,
No.
Rotsep,
Yes.
I think Buffman is sitting in, so Buffman,
Yes.
Michaela,
Aye.
Nana,
Yes.
Molman,
Yes.
Longstreth,
It doesn't matter, yes.
Lucchini,
No.
Hogarth,
Yes.
Hewitt,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Evke,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Adams.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
I won't vote.
Okay, I have 14-1. Motion passes.
All right. So we will now proceed to vote on the motion, which is to postpone for 30 days to February 16th to take this back up at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, I will now go in forward order. Adams,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Evke,
Yes.
Hagan,
No.
Hewitt,
No.
Hogarth,
No.
Lucchini,
No.
Longstreth,
No.
Moment.
As a point of information, this is for 30 days, correct?
Correct.
I'll vote no.
Nana.
Yes.
Michaela.
Aye.
Yes. Phillips.
This is Mr. Buffman voting no.
Sorry. Buffman.
No.
No. Rodset.
Yes.
Yes. Sarwark.
No.
Smith.
Yes.
I am going to vote yes. And Madam Chair.
What's the count?
Oh boy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 opposed.
And if this fails, if the postponement fails, it's still on the table right now.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to vote no.
8 to 9. 8 in favor, not opposed.
All right,
Madam Chair, I have raised my hand after the vote.
Mr. Moman.
Same motion, 14 days instead of 30.
Okay, so that's
I'll second it.
I object.
what does that put us at? Oh, I lost my count there.
I believe that's the 31st.
I concur with that.
It is the 4th. Yes, the 31st. Okay, so same motion to postpone this item to be considered in 14 days, which puts us at January 31st. I assume same 8 p.m. Eastern. And it was seconded. There was objection. Mr. Moman, would you like to speak to your motion?
I feel as though a number of the no votes were the length of time. I believe that we heard objection to 1 week. We definitely didn't pass 30 days, so I'm going to try to go for 2 weeks. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you're speaking to objection?
I just think that we have board members who were worried about legal ramifications that said they needed more time than the 30 days is what they needed. So I don't know why we didn't listen to those board members, but it's ridiculous. So.
Mr. Ford, do you want to speak on this new motion?
The real question to me is when we're going to see realized guidance from an attorney, from us, as we discussed, get the questions answered, and then how much time will we have to react to that information? That to me is the real question. I don't know that it's possible to do it in 14 days. It's certainly not possible to do 7, and I don't know how we can responsibly make a decision tonight.
The only thing I can say is that I will reach out to our legal counsel first thing in the morning. It would be helpful to me if you all would provide me with specific questions that you would like asked so that he knows what to prepare. And then either he can provide us a written statement or we can try to schedule a phone call. That's the best I can do at this time on a Monday.
No, and I appreciate that. I just editorial, I prefer a phone call with, of course, questions up front. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Molman, your hand is still up.
Artifact, sorry.
Okay, Mr. Nana.
Yeah, I voted yes for 30. I'm gonna vote yes for this. I think 7 is far too soon. I'm not sure 14 is enough, but it's probably as best as I think we're gonna get, and maybe we can come to some agreement on that.
Thank you, Mr. Nana. Mr. Flores?
Yeah, sorry, I was having a difficulty unmuting there. I know, I understand that I'm not able to make a motion or anything like that in this meeting. However, I do feel that this is probably not going to solve this issue. I think tabling it is just going to upset members further and fuel the fires. I would, if I were in the position to be able to make a recommendation for a motion, I would see if Mr. Smith would be, and the board would be amenable to apologizing to Ms. DeSisto for taking improper channels, assuring that in the future that we would take proper channels to address staff concerns in the future and bring them to the EPCC, and to drop and dismiss this censure as a result. That would be my suggestion, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Mr. Hall?
Mr. Smith has already said that a censure doesn't mean anything to him. So at this point, what more do we need to move forward with this? We're either showing that we've done something or that we haven't done something. And from everything that had been said beforehand, that's the very bare minimum. Have we done something or not? That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Mr. Rodsett?
I voted yes on 30. I am voting yes on 14. If we need more time at the end of the 14, we can always vote to extend again. So I urge everyone to please vote yes on this.
Ms. Hogarth?
We're not voting on a complex legal issue. We're voting on a board censure of a member who has violated our policy manual in a way that is injurious to our relationship with our staff. I think punting is absolutely the wrong option. It's fine to seek legal counsel on employment issues, but this isn't an employment issue. It's a board issue, and we need to show that we're committed to supporting our staff according to our policy manual.
Thank you. Mr. Wilford?
Sorry about that. Let me unmute. I guess I'll start by saying I do plan on voting against 14 days. Not because I think it is too much or too little time, but mostly because it falls on my birthday. But furthermore, I think we approach this wrong when we put a set number of days. I think it is perfectly reasonable that we could have an answer in 3 days. I think it is also possible that it takes longer for some of these questions to be resolved. I think some members do have valid questions that do need to be resolved. But if we postpone this indefinitely, we can bring it back up at any time once these issues are resolved. That can then be done by calling another meeting or simply by taking an email vote. So for that reason, I move to amend to postpone indefinitely.
Second.
Yeah, I second as well.
There has been a motion to amend the postponement of 14 days to postponement indefinitely.
Point of order.
It has been seconded. Mr. Longstreth?
Yes, I believe a motion to postpone indefinitely is a distinct motion from a motion to postpone to a time certain. And if I'm wrong, but I'd like that looked into.
Mr. Brown, can you speak to that? In other words, Mr. Longstreth, are you saying that it would be out of order because it can't be substituted?
Yes, that those are not interchangeable in this context. It'd be like a motion to table versus a motion to postpone. They mean different things completely.
Yeah, I think he is correct about that. It's to accomplish two different purposes.
Okay, thank you. So
he can make a substitute motion.
Yeah, it could be, yes, it could be a substitute motion rather than.
That's right. That's what I thought.
Yeah, rather than amending it, it could be a substitute motion.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
So it is. So in other words, what he is effectively doing is offering an amendment by substitution.
That's, if I heard it correctly, that's right. And also, as far as the effect of postponing indefinitely, it doesn't kill the motion permanently. It can be renewed. It's killed permanently unless it gets renewed or made again. Do you understand that? And this was for the benefit of Aaron also, who had
Yes.
questions about postponing indefinitely. It has the effect of killing the motion, but it can be renewed or made again at any future session.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to amend by substitution. Instead of setting this date for 14 days, it is postponed indefinitely. It was seconded. The
I'll second it.
objection.
Second.
Are there any objections to postponing indefinitely as a substitution for postponing for 14 days? Hearing no objections.
I object.
Mr. Lucchini, thank you. Mr. Smith, do you need to speak to your motion?
I didn't make the motion.
It was Mr. Wilford's motion.
Yeah.
Oh, the
I just
motion.
I just seconded the
I see.
motion.
Hang on just a second. Mr. Brown, are you, I just saw a message from you. Is it now?
Okay, good. I was trying to get through. I might have lost track. Where do we stand right now? What's the motion and what is someone trying to do?
Well, the motion was to postpone for 14 days. We had a date that was set. It had been seconded, and then Mr. Wilford moved to amend by postponing, essentially substituting it to postpone indefinitely instead of the 14 days.
That's right. And I think I told you that it could not be amended, but would be permissible as a substitute. But actually, it's not permissible as a substitute because it is a lower ranking motion. It's just about the lowest of the motions. So you cannot substitute a motion to postpone indefinitely for a motion to postpone to a definite time. But if it's postponed to a definite time, it can always be postponed again. And it can be taken up sooner, but it would require suspending the rules. It would take a 2/3 vote to take it up sooner.
Okay. All right. So to be clear, and I am getting confirmation from other parliamentarians about this as well, that it is not, the motion on the floor is the 14-day postponement, and it cannot be substituted for the postpone, indefinite postponement. So that, Mr. Wilford, your motion was out of order.
Thank you, Madam
Yes,
Chair.
you're right, comma. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we are back to the motion at hand, which is 14 days, puts us on the 31st, 8 p.m. Eastern. I see Beth Best.
I'm sorry. Are you asking me to vote?
Your hand is up.
No, I'm not. I don't need to speak.
Mr. Lucchini.
I seconded this motion. Having said that, I would prefer that we resolve this tonight. I understand that people are apprehensive about legal implications. I get that. But this motion is truly about a violation of policy, egregious violation, persistent violation of policy. And it's not really about the legal issues. I'm willing to allow a 14-day consultation period with attorneys if that is what makes people comfortable, but I think it's unnecessary. So having said all of that, I'd like to call the question.
All right, question has been called.
Just for clarification for the minutes, was that calling the question on the postponement or all pending questions?
Just on the postponement.
Second.
All right. Question has been called and seconded. Is there any objection to calling the question? Hearing no objection, we will proceed to a vote on the motion, which is to postpone this matter for 14 days, putting us at an 8 o'clock Eastern Time meeting on January 31st.
All right, I will go in. Oh, are we ready?
Yes.
All right, I'll go in reverse order and I will be voting no. Smith.
Pass.
Pass. Sarwark.
Nope.
No. Rodsep.
Yes.
Buffman.
No.
Nikayla.
Aye.
Yes. Nana.
Yes.
Yes. Mulman.
Yes.
Yes. Longstreth.
No.
No. Lucchini.
No.
No. Hogarth.
No.
No. Hewitt.
No.
No. Hagan.
No.
No. Ebke.
No.
No. Bowen.
Yes.
Yes. Adams.
Yes.
Yes. Smith.
What's the count, Mr. Secretary?
Currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 opposed.
I'll abstain.
Abstain, Madam Chair.
I will not vote.
Okay. 6 in favor, 9 opposed, 2 abstaining.
So the motion fails.
Mhm.
We are back at our main motion, which is the matter of the censure of Joshua Smith for violations of the policy manual. Mr. Lucchini, your hand is still up.
I'd like to call the question.
All right, question has been called. Any objections to calling the question?
I will object.
And I
that
have a
Mr.
point of
Mulman?
information too. So
A request for information, Mr. Smith?
I have a point of information. I was going to say something that might make it easier for everyone on this board to vote a certain way. So
Well,
if they allow me to speak.
you have the floor.
I'd be willing to accept this censure and be done with it if someone on this board would be willing to make a censure for every single person that violated the same policy manual section in the handling of the Karen Ann Harlow stuff. If you guys are willing to set that precedent and make that motion to censure yourselves, then I'll accept a censure for the same reason. Thank you.
I would be willing to make that motion on the email list. I cannot guarantee it will get enough votes to pass.
Make it here.
Who would be getting censured? I guess I'm confused.
Out of
as-
order.
It's out of order here. It's out of order here.
It's actually not. I gave plenty of notice to the list that censure could be brought here.
That has
So
nothing to do with it. This meeting was
does,
called for a
actually.
very
You
specific
don't know what you're talking
purpose.
about at all, literally at all.
And this meeting has a very specific purpose. It was called for a very specific purpose. So anything further can be on the list, no problem.
Madam Chair.
All right, is there any further discussion? Mr. Molman, you objected to calling the question.
Yes. I object because I still don't have the information that I want, that we talked about already.
I'd also like to appeal the ruling of the chair that my motion or my what I said was out of order. I brought plenty of notice to the list for this meeting that we could bring other censures. I think you're incorrect, so I'd like to appeal the ruling of the chair.
Point of information,
Mr. Lucchini?
was Mr. Smith's motion on the business list seconded to censure other members of the LNC?
Doesn't need to be seconded
It was
to be added
not.
to the agenda.
It has to be co-sponsored
I
to
appealed
be.
your ruling.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, does the appeal of the ruling of the chair need to be seconded?
Yes, Madam Chair, it does. And by the way, this is my understanding, this meeting was called for the sole purpose of considering a motion of censure against Mr. Smith. Any other business would be out of order.
That is what I said. Mr. Smith, your appeal does not have a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. So we have an appeal of the from the ruling of the chair. It has been seconded. Mr. Smith, would you like to speak to your appeal?
Yes, I gave plenty of notice. You guys are holding a completely hypocritical meeting against me for violating a section of the policy manual that you all have yourselves also violated in this term. And in fact, the person who made the motion to censure me has violated that exact policy manual section, and he wrote the policy manual section, so he knows that he's violated that section. I just think that it would be very hypocritical for you guys to vote yes on a censure of me for violating a section of the policy manual that you guys have already violated yourselves this term. And I don't think that it's out of order to hold that here. And so I'm appealing the ruling of the chair, and I hope you guys will support that and be consistent in all of the things that you do, so you're not showing our members that you're just using this as a political bat to bash me over the head with. Thank you.
Mr. Longstreth?
Yeah, so in being consistent with our policy manual, the chair is correct here. Our policy manual clearly states that a special meeting in between regular meetings must be called by a certain number of sponsors for a specific purpose, and that is the entire premise of the meeting. I can't recall the section right now because it's 11 o'clock, after 11 o'clock, and I have to be up at 3. But say la vie, that's life. So this meeting was called for a specific purpose. The agenda could have been amended had Mr. Smith, I believe, gathered enough co-sponsors to his motion prior to the 7 days, because that's what's required for a special meeting to be called, in which case it probably could have been added to the agenda, but that's not what happened in here. So outside of the correct amount of co-sponsors or anything else like that, the agenda was limited to a very specific, and in case you're wondering where the co-sponsors there were, that was the entire executive committee minus Mr. Phillips, who instructed the chair to go ahead and call that meeting, which far surpasses the 4 required members to call a meeting to hear something like that. So that is why I believe that the chair is correct, and urge you all to affirm that ruling that the chair is correct.
I'll actually read the policy itself as I did at the beginning of this call. It's on page 16 under special rules of order. It is electronic meetings, and it's section L. Electronic meetings are special meetings such that only the topics listed in the call of the meeting may be considered during the meeting. That has been affirmed also by our parliamentarian. And is there anyone else wishing to speak on challenging the ruling of the chair? All right, we'll proceed to a vote. A yes vote. A yes vote upholds the ruling of the chair.
Madam Chair, point of information.
Mr. Brown.
Yes, Madam Chair.
The yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair.
Correct. The question is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained, and a yes vote sustains the ruling of the chair. A no vote is to overturn it. It takes a majority vote to overturn the ruling of the chair.
Okay,
Madam Chair, point of information,
Miss Adams.
Beth Vest will be holding the seat for Region 7 for the time being. I need to step away for one moment.
Thank you. Mr. Wilford, did you catch that?
I did.
Okay. All right, so we're proceeding to a vote on the appeal to the ruling of the chair. A yes vote sustains the ruling that adding things to the topic right now is out of order. A no vote overturns the ruling. Requires a majority to be overturned. When you are ready.
All right, and this will be in forward order. So we will start with Vest.
I vote yes.
Bowen,
No.
Epke,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Hewitt,
Yes.
Hogarth,
Yes.
Lucchini,
Yes.
Longstreth,
Yes.
Molman,
Yes.
Nana,
Yes.
Michaela,
Abstain.
Buffman,
Yes.
Rodsep,
Yes.
Sarwark,
Yes.
Smith.
Nope.
I am voting yes. Madam Chair.
I don't need to vote.
Okay, final tally is 13 yes, 2 no, 2 abstains.
Okay, so the ruling of the chair is upheld.
Point of clarification, I think there was one abstention. I don't know if I misheard the secretary, but he thought he said no abstentions.
I said 2 abstains.
Oh, I apologize then.
Mr. Longstreth, are you still seeking to be recognized?
No, I apologize. That's an artifact. I'm not sure why that's there.
All right. Mr. Secretary, can you help me remember at this point, we are back to the main motion. The question had been called.
We were at the motion to call the question.
Okay. All right, so, and there was objection to calling the question.
I believe so.
So we should be voting on whether or not to call the question then. Can you verify that?
Correct. There's no debate.
Is that where we are though, Mr. Wilford?
Yes, that is where we are.
All right, so are you prepared for that vote?
I am.
So a yes vote brings us to a vote on the motion at hand.
Okay, and we are to reverse order. All right, so starting with me, I will vote yes. Smith,
Yes.
Sarwark,
Clarification, is the motion at hand the main motion of the
No,
censure?
it's calling the question. It's basically, we're voting now to go straight to a vote on that motion. On the censure motion. We're voting now to call the question or not.
Thank you. Yes.
Rodsep,
Yes.
Buffman,
Yes.
Michaela,
Although yes.
Nana,
Yes.
Melman,
No.
no, Longstreth,
Yes.
Lucchini,
Yes.
Hogarth,
Yes.
Hewitt,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Epke,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Vest.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Vote.
15-1-1.
All right. We will now proceed to a vote on the motion itself, which was on your screen earlier. The motion to censure Joshua Smith for violations of a
Majority
specific
vote.
policy manual.
1 second to get the sheet ready, and I will be good to go. Okay. And back to forward order. Vest,
Yes.
Bowen,
Abstain.
Epke,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Hewitt,
Yes.
Hogarth,
Absolutely, yes.
Lucchini,
Yes.
Longstreth,
Yes.
Mullen,
Should versus shall, no.
Hannah,
I abstain.
Michaela,
No.
Buffman,
Yes.
Rodsep,
No.
Sarwark,
Yes.
Smith,
See y'all in Reno, cowards. No.
I am voting yes. Madam Chair.
I will not vote.
Okay.
No need.
We got this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. 3 abstentions.
And the result, Mr. Wolfer?
Motion passes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Call for adjournment? Well, I suppose there's no need to call, but
Yes, we have exhausted our agenda for this evening. So I did hear a call for adjournment.
It was Hogarth, correct?
Yes, it was Hogarth. Always in order, not debatable.
Second.
Any objection to adjournment? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.